The age of transparency has become a spectacle. We live in a time where saying everything is seen as a mark of authenticity, as if constant exposure were an unquestionable virtue. But in practice, those who say everything lose everything. Revealed information is power lost. Amid this flood of opinions, confessions, and public self-analysis, few realize that true dominance doesn't lie in what is expressed but in what is withheld. Strategic silence, far from being omission, is a form of presence. And presence commands respect. Machiavelli never romanticized power. He studied it like someone dissecting a mechanism. And he understood early on that to influence, one must control not just actions but the gaps, the pauses, the uncertainty, the silence. Because where there is mystery, there is projection. And where there is projection, there is control. Those who remain silent build. Those who talk too much expose themselves. Speech can explain, but silence imposes. In a world saturated with voices, the one who masters the art of not speaking has the upper hand without needing to play the game. Before we dive into the subtle layers of silent power, I invite you to like this video, share it with someone who values the art of strategy, and if you want to keep going on this journey with us, subscribe and leave your thoughts in the comments. In a world that rewards quick and loud talkers, strategic silence may seem counterproductive, but that's precisely where its power lies. It disrupts the rhythm of interaction and creates a magnetic field around those who wield it. In this context, silence isn't the absence of action, it is disguised action. Machiavelli saw silence as a tool of subtle manipulation. In choosing to stay silent, one avoids entrapment, escapes the trap of compulsive authenticity, and protects their position on the board. While others expose themselves, the silent one watches, calculates, and waits with an edge. That's where mystery becomes authority. Silence creates a layer of ambiguity that unsettles others and generates an asymmetry of information. Those who speak little enforce communicational discipline. And in the end, they often say more than those who flood the air with words seeking validation. Every time you speak, you give something away even if you don't realize it. A misplaced word, a detail revealed too early, an emotion that slips through. Speech is a minefield where any misstep can be used by those who understand the dynamics of power. Machiavelli knew the more you talk, the less room you have to maneuver. There's a modern illusion that explaining yourself is always necessary. But over-explaining often feels like apologizing for your own existence. In environments of influence, impulsive speech is often a trap, especially when you can't control how your image is selectively interpreted. Words can untie, but they can also bind. Strategic silence offers the opposite adaptability. When you speak less, you can change direction without seeming inconsistent. You avoid being manipulated by your own words and preserve ambiguity as a defense mechanism. Those who master this don't feel obliged to respond, they choose when to speak, and even more importantly, what to leave unsaid. The first form is silence for information gathering. While others rush to fill the void with words, those who observe in silence gain the upper hand. They let others overtalk, contradict themselves, reveal weaknesses. It's like playing a game without showing your cards. The asymmetry begins. The second is silence to build authority. Scarce, intentional speech carries weight. People who speak little but with precision transmit self-control, confidence, and command. Communicational discipline creates magnetic presence. Every word feels deliberate, necessary. Nothing is by chance. And finally, silence to preserve ambiguity. Instead of locking yourself into definitions, you allow multiple interpretations to coexist. That space of uncertainty is a powerful tool in leadership and negotiation. After all, those who leave others guessing control the narrative without ever having to be fully clear. Silence by itself is a mirror. When you don't fill the space with words, others begin to project. They imagine intentions, fill in the blanks, build meanings. And in doing so, they reveal more than you ever would. That's psychological influence in action without saying a word. What is left unsaid creates tension, and tension creates power. Well-placed silence transforms the environment, shifts the tone of a conversation, and repositions the emotional center of gravity. The other person tries to read you, provoke a response. And the more you give nothing, the more power you gain. When used with intention, this technique is not a lack of communication. It's communication elevated to another level. Strategic silence is not passivity, it's precision. And those who know when not to speak control not only what is said, but also what others think about what remains unspoken. Today, transparency has become almost a religion. People expect leaders, brands, and even everyday individuals to constantly expose themselves in the name of authenticity. But Machiavelli would warn the urge to reveal might actually be a trap. The trap of forced authenticity. The truth is not all information needs or should be shared. Selective disclosure is a survival tactic, not coldness. Those who show everything all the time lose the element of surprise. And worse, they hand others the tools to manipulate their vulnerabilities. The intelligent operator knows that transparency has its time and place. Being accessible does not mean being an open book. Quite the opposite, protecting certain silences is a way of shielding your position. After all, in any power dynamic, what is hidden often holds more force than what is revealed. In meetings, for instance, strategic silence can be your greatest asset. While others scramble to fill the space with opinions, you listen, observe, and assess the terrain. And when you finally speak, your words carry weight. Not because they're louder, but because they come after silence. In relationships, staying silent at the right moment is not weakness, it's self-control. Refusing to explain unnecessarily, choosing not to react immediately, letting the other person process their own behavior, that's emotional leadership. It's communicational discipline brought into intimacy. And in negotiations, that's where silence becomes a tactical weapon. The pause after a proposal. The look that replaces an answer. The time the other person spends waiting for your position, it all destabilizes them. Often the one who speaks first loses, and the one who controls silence walks away with more than expected. Have you ever stopped to think how many times you spoke when you should have stayed quiet? How many opportunities were lost because of too many words or fear of the void? Maybe it's time to trade the impulse to respond for the strategy of observing. Silence is not absence, it is deliberate presence. It protects, projects, and positions. It's one of the most refined tools within the dynamics of power, and using it consciously can completely transform the way you negotiate, lead, and communicate. So tell me this: what if, instead of speaking to be heard, you started staying silent to be felt? If this resonated with you, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and stay with us for more episodes in this series on influence, power, and the strategies that actually work. The game is on, and silence is your next move.